some amazing bankers here at NAB. What I'm looking for is complete consistency and making sure that every interaction with a customer, no matter who the colleague here at NAB is a great interaction. And I think you're seeing more and more customers interested in knowing, am I dealing with somebody who can look after my needs and get it right every time? And that's what we're certainly aiming for. So it's around competency, but it's also around consistency.
You talked also about the sloppiness that was exposed in banks, including NAB, by the Royal Commission. But I mean, when we think about things like the notorious introducer program with cash bribes for loan, that really goes to culture more than competency. To what extent could this initiative help cultural change?
Look, I think it's a core part of our cultural change. There were many features that came out of the Royal Commission that we were not happy with, that had been happening in the bank and across the banking industry, and also, of course, the wealth industry. And a program of professionalisation and qualification, I think it helps certainly with competency, but also with the culture that we expect here at NAB, that looks after its colleagues, but also has a very, very strong focus on the interests and needs of our customers. So it does both.
You've had any feedback?
We've had a very, very positive feedback, both internally with our colleagues saying thank you for investing in us. We love the feeling of being a great organisation again and leading. And from outside the organisation, those in other areas of banking have said, good on you for leading. I hope our bank follows it. So I think the feedback to date has been outstanding and probably a little bit better than I anticipated, to be quite honest.
Is this going to be part of your competitive advantage? How is it going to play out with, say, small businesses and indeed other customers that you've got these higher internationally recognised qualifications?
Well, we certainly did experience this at Royal Bank of Scotland, where we did it for our front line bankers, those who were only directly contacting with customers, and we made sure that they were all qualified. We made it a non-negotiable. But at NAB, I'm putting it across 34,000 of our colleagues so that everybody in this bank understands customer relationships, they understand what conduct we want, and also the ethics of banking. I think customers will love this, because it comes back to, am I dealing with a professional who will look after my needs? And it'll take some time. This is a program where we're developing today with FINSIA, which is a very authorised body that qualify professionals. And I think it will make a big difference over the next 5 years. But it's not going to happen in 1 month. This is going to be a program that will embed cultural change and competency change in this bank over the next 5 years.
So, Ross, this is going to take over 3 to 5 years. Obviously, your bankers are going to need all the acumen they've got right now as we move to this period of removing support that you've put in place during COVID, because you've been quite wary about the pace of economic recovery, haven't you?
Yes, I have been. I'm an optimist at heart, but I am cautious about what's happened because we saw such a dramatic stop of businesses, particularly small, medium-sized businesses here in Australia, as has happened globally, that I just don't believe you can turn the tap on and it'll all turn on again. And you're seeing at the moment some businesses starting to get their revenue flows going again, but there are still tens and tens of thousands of small businesses that haven't been able to start up yet and will take some time to get going. So I have remained cautious. I've also been very clear that a good business before the crisis, we're assuming will be a good business after, but a business that was struggling before the crisis may really will probably have some major difficulties now. And we need to be very open with those customers about whether we can or even should support them for their own sake as much as the banks.
You say 10 to 15% of NAB customers have reversed their loan deferrals already, but you're not going to do something like have an automatic default to interest-only loans. It's quite a customised approach. It's going to suck up your resources, isn't it?
Well, one of the great things about NAB is we've got good bankers who are having conversations every day with customers. And what we're doing now is we've got them on a program of bringing those customers who are on deferral. We're just doing a check-in. And this is nothing compulsory for a customer that they have to do. We're just doing a check-in, and we are finding about 10 to 15% of those small business customers saying, we're okay, please put us back onto the payment schedules. We don't need the deferral, which is, I think, a very good sign. But we're going to be making those calls to customers over the next 3 months, which leads into the end of the deferral period, which is the end of September, and we'll have a pretty good idea then what more support we need to give these customers. There are some areas that they want maybe just interest, go back to interest only. There'll be some that may need a longer period of time, but we'll deal with each one of them on an individual basis because they're all quite different. Some are fine and others are not so good.
Yeah, I mean, there is some urgency to this, though, because at the moment, APRA the regulator is treating this leniency not as in arrears, requiring the need for banks to hold extra capital. Now, I know the banks are in discussions with APRA. You're hoping to hear something in July, I think. How are these discussions going?
So we are having a conversation with the regulator about how do we treat customers that are having these deferrals and should there be more leniency after the 6 months. Those discussions are in place and let's see how they go. Look, a bank has to have capital for these positions. That's why we made an early move of getting additional capital so that this bank can support customers through these times and come out of the crisis period in very strong shape.
You've warned about the pace of recovery, as I said. Now, we've also got the OECD warning the government not to pull out stimulus too fast. What do you make of the government's removal of Wagekeeper already in this period?
Well, first off, I'd say I think the government's been incredibly supportive right the way through to date, and I think they will continue to make moves as they have with the Home Builder program, and there'll be other programs that they'll have to put out there to help industries get going again. And I think we should just be quite patient with these things. They've been very responsive to date, and I think they will continue. They've shown their hand to be continue to be responsive going forward. The industry's also worked very well with large businesses, the government, the regulators, the Reserve Bank. Everybody's been trying to do the right thing here. And I think it's going to take many small moves across industries that will actually get this economy back up. There's no one great program, I think, that will help. The government's also looking at regulation. They're looking at a whole raft of different things that would be helpful of getting this economy going. So it's going to be across the board in many, many different areas, not just one great program.
Ross, you've got a bit of unfinished business with your executive team, and in particular in terms of the head of business banking. Anthony Healy left a little while ago now. What's happening there? You're going to pull someone else in from RBS?
No, look, we've certainly been doing a major or a global search for the head of our business and private banking. Right today is being ably supported by Michael Sardi, who's doing a fantastic job in acting. So I'm under no pressure to have to make a decision there, and the bank's running pretty well. But look, I am doing an international search, and we're not too far away, I would say, on making an appointment there. But I am taking the time because it's such a vital position for this bank, as we are the largest business bank in Australia, and we want a great candidate for that job.
Ross McEwan, very good to speak with you. Thank you very much.